So, okay, so what ideas were you thinking about? I know you said you can't remember.
Well, so a couple of things that probably come to mind is to probably get ready for next year.
Okay.
We've got so much stuff going on for next year that this will be helpful in like just like hyping it up. We've been fortunate enough to have gotten some exposure from some pretty great people recently.
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge DJ that invited us to be a part of her toy drive, which gave us a lot of exposure.
Yeah.
More we're hearing people like, oh, I've heard of you. Oh, I follow you already.
Mm-hmm.
And again, a follow is one thing, but it's another thing to be engaged.
Right.
Another thing to really grasp and get out. What I want people to get is the impact, right?
Right.
The connections, and that's the other thing.
Be involved in
yeah,
stuff.
Well, but I think it's the other thing. We've been fostering so many connections.
Mm-hmm.
Even sometimes I'm not privy to them because they just happen,
mm-hmm.
but they're amazing. I mean, and we're talking like connections from somebody selling somebody's home or working on that to a couple of the gals never been friends before going to a concert together, which
mm-hmm.
again, just still building that camaraderie,
right.
you know? So I think it's really just trying to help paint a picture of the impact, get people ready for next year.
Mm-hmm.
And some of our programming from next year. And I don't want to harp on like some of the challenges because the challenges for me have been personal.
Right. Before we get into like that personal stuff, because I thought that was important to talk about, and I'm really glad you reached out to me.
Okay.
I wanted to go ahead and reintroduce you.
Okay,
so you're a returning guest. I'm just welcome you back again, Roz.
Yeah.
Roz Lucero Corona.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for being back on the podcast. I'm trying to start things a little differently next year, so I'm trying to like test out how to introduce or like even a new room.
Yeah, and I love it though. No, but this is like cozy and
it is cozy.
No, yeah,
right?
it's very.
I like this.
Yeah,
it's more like personal too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know this year has been really. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I know you've had to like go through a lot this year.
Yeah.
And you were just starting to talk about like your mental health and stuff and like how you went through that and processing all of the stuff, especially with your organization, the Chingona Community. What's some insight you've gotten from all of it?
I think a couple of things. One of the biggest things would be, I've always been a proponent, obviously, of women,
mm-hmm.
as I stated before, and I'll state it again. I definitely feel like I'm a feminist. Anything to protect us, help us grow, help us learn. And then the big one is help us connect, right? Because everybody needs a different connection for some reason, you know, or not, whether
mm-hmm.
that be business, personal, or just their own desire for something.
Yeah.
But this year, the toughest thing and the most challenging mentally was the death of my dad.
Yeah.
So with my dad passing, although for truly 2 years, like he's been sick. And so for truly 2 years, it's like oh gosh, okay, what's going to happen when he dies? You know, it's like, I've always said that, and even more so maybe to my husband than not, or if he had really bad days, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, what if today, but you don't know, like we don't know. But that was interesting, hurtful, sad, but it also gave me the chance to reflect on like how important still mental health is.
Yeah.
And how important it is for us not to disregard how we're feeling,
mm-hmm.
us not to disregard, to have open discussions, like to share stories so that way everyone can hear them and realize that they're not alone, right? Everyone deals with grief in different ways, but my point is though, mental health is a big thing for next year. Mm-hmm. So not immediately after that all happened, but that had been on the deck, but I took it more, I guess a grander scale. With how the Chingona community is going to support women with mental health next year.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited. We're going to do a mental health awareness day-ish, half day on a Saturday, so on a weekend.
Okay.
We're working with several partners. I don't want to give them all out right now because I want to leave a little bit of excitement for when the date's already there.
I'm already excited.
Yeah. The date's already there, but the impact in which, or the effect in which my dad's passing had on me was to make sure that we've been doing it already, like yoga, and we had a discussion on postpartum.
Okay.
But put it all together: grief,
right?
Postpartum, menopause.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? You know.
Did you go through postpartum? Like, was it too bad?
Honestly, not really.
Okay.
No, but I did indirectly.
Okay.
As a young mom, so you don't know what you're doing when you're a young mom.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. I always hear a lot of like really sad stories about postpartum, and I don't have kids yet, so it scares me.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm susceptible or prone to having postpartum just because I'm very moody and like I've suffered with like depression and insomnia and like all these just like things that have affected my mental health like over time, and it just scares me that that's going to happen to me. But people always tell me don't manifest it,
No. Well, and then just like you said, it scares you that might happen. Don't even think that. Like just wait for stuff to happen. I mean, and it's a real thing.
Right.
But I think I probably went through it in a different way because I didn't realize I was going through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was probably just like back to work and then just thinking that maybe the stress from work, but it was really maybe postpartum and I didn't realize it. I think I went through more of a postpartum being left alone because I was a single mom with several of my kids. Right.
Now that I think about it, like you're talking about grief in different ways, and like again, I don't really know a lot about postpartum, but like I guess postpartum is also like a version of you like grieving yourself, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The loss of just you.
Yeah.
Like it's not just you anymore.
Okay.
It's not, it's you lost what you looked like before.
Yeah.
Right? You lost what you could do before.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't just walk out,
Yeah.
And just like leave a carrier behind and be like, oh yeah, like, so yeah, in a way it is. But at the same token, like you just said, people have said that, but don't think that though. Just like grief.
Right.
Like, my grieving has been more to celebrate my dad and more like now, at least I know that like I'll ask from above, I talk to myself anyways, but I'm like, okay, dad, I'm like, all right, dad, I'm like, just help me today. And I just kind of, I go, but at least I feel this weird sense of
connection.
Yeah. And it's not, but it is,
Yeah.
I've already had my first dream. That was one thing that someone had told me early on.
Good.
Yeah. So I don't know what that means. I have a dream book that I was gifted from a friend of mine years ago. I got to find it. I've never read it in its entirety, but I finally had my first dream. And it was interesting that somebody who's lost their parent had shared that one with me because I would have never really understood what that meant. But no, it was a deep dream. And it was, to me, it was early on. Like I got blessed with that dream. Like, barely 2 months into this loss.
Right.
And that was a good one because I was like, oh my God. I'm like, okay, he's around. Like,
that's so sweet. Yeah. I love that. My boyfriend actually just lost somebody this year and he was hoping that his friend would be in his dreams within the next couple of weeks and he didn't show up.
Yeah.
I think about like a month in, his friend showed up in the dream.
Yeah. Nice.
And I know, like, I can't imagine, like, I'm really blessed with, like, not experiencing death so closely to me yet. And it scares me. It gives me a lot of anxiety, to be honest. But I can imagine that having somebody that you love and someone close to you in your dreams is just, like, it's like the reconnection again.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I don't want to say that the good thing is that I have been through a loss very close, like to the point where, actually seeing my Nina exit her home, we knew she was going to pass. So not to say that I'm immune to it, but the way things happen, it's like, I already knew what to expect. I really haven't seen last breaths per se just yet.
Right.
But to your point, if you can kind of just know, once you went through it, it doesn't make it easier,
right? But
at least it gives you an idea of kind of what to expect, not fully. And then with my dad being so sick, there were several times that I'm like, oh my God, is today going to be the day?
Aww.
And it wasn't.
Yeah.
But when the real day, I'm like, oh my God, like, then it's like anger, just really tough feelings. But yeah, the dream was really awesome.
Aww.
Like, amazingly awesome. Like, I'll take it.
So you said your dad was sick for 2 years?
Yeah, just about. I mean, he was sick on and off for a while, but like genuinely, where a lot of things started falling off. Like last driving of his lowrider to our Ruby's doo-wop breakfasts, last real wanting to like get out and like really do. I mean, he would do stuff, but like very much not to the extent that he would have done 2 years prior.
Got it. And then, so was he in a hospital or he just happened to pass? Like,
no, he was in the hospital. And that sucked. I wanted him to come home so bad.
Oh no.
And the Monday before he passed, you know, I knew he was in pain, but you know, you could feel he's like, get the car. I'm like, Dad, I can't. And I was like,
I know you were going through so much that week too, because your daughter was about to have her baby.
She did 28 hours after my dad passed.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The timing is so, it's incredible, and it's like crazy in a way. It's like, how did that even happen?
Yeah. And I don't know that I would have, oddly, with everything that's happened in my life this year. You could be so angry. You could be so, I've been so like literally stretched it was like a tortilla, like literally that rolled out, right?
I know.
Not even like wasn't even cooked. I mean, I've been so rolled out.
Yeah.
Not much phases me anyways, meaning I'm usually able to like really bounce back. But had this change in our lives, in our home with my daughter and now my granddaughter not happen, I don't think I would have done as well with my dad.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, I'm having some hard times.
I could see that. I could see what you mean.
No, I would have not been.
Because there's like that joyous feeling of like seeing your first grandchild, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then your father passing, and it's like you, in some way, do have to be happy during that time.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, there's just like a new baby in the world.
Yeah.
And it's your first grandchild, and it's very meaningful. But also you have to mourn the passing of your father at the same time. So you kind of like simultaneously like have to be happy and sad at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's our choice too, right? I mean,
right. Totally.
So sad about my dad. And so just, like, I think I use the word bummed, like just so like, fuck, you know, like, just like, oh, you know, like more angry, bummed than sad. Like sad, of course I'm sad, but I'm just more bummed at like just like little things, you know, wanting him to recoup a little bit, you know, wishing that he could have driven his car one last time, wishing that he could have seen her, wishing that we could have had just like one more of everything, kind of, you know. And I don't like you to pass in the hospital, but I've been through watching a loved one leave their home, and if I think about that, I might not have wanted to see that. Like, yeah, would it have been great, but I might not have done, baby or not, or $1 million or not, like I might not have wanted to witness that and have been the way it was. Meaning, we know that usually when you're in a hospital, right, unless you're delivering a baby, you're ill or you have some sort of something that you need to be cared for. Right. So the thought of that is you leave the hospital, that's where you get cared for. That's where people are supposed to, right, you know, help keep you healthy or get you better or whatever. Right. So in that case, whereas when you leave your home, you leave your home forever. He did, but I think the visuals are a little bit, yeah.
Do you have any, I mean, I know it's still early on, but do you have any advice for people that are mourning right now? Or like, do you have what are some thoughts that process through your head? Or if you have any things that you did that made you feel better?
Video and voice recording. I was told that early on. When my dad first got sick, I had a couple of very close friends of mine. You know, one thing that I regret is this, or one thing I did was this. And it was both video and voice. And I didn't realize, it's so odd. I have literally almost to the date for 4 years, oddly saved voicemails from my dad, but they're literally 2024, 2023, 2022, 2021. And I did not realize it until after his passing, and I listened to them all. But now, like, they'll never go anywhere. I save them, like, I have them. You're smart, like, we get these, the chips or whatever the hell you can get, right? Yeah. But that's one thing that somebody told me before, and praise God they did. Yeah. Because before, actually, so that would be before someone's gone. But if they're going through grieving right now, think of, like, the good times. Like, it's not going to bring them back, but at least it'll make you laugh. Yeah. It'll make you, like, be thankful, show gratitude. You're still honoring them in that way. Cry, do whatever. I mean, scream. I did it all, but think of the good. Like when I think of the good, and even some photos, I'm like, oh my God, I love that photo. Cause like, it just brings the good.
Yeah.
Like, think of the good.
The memory.
Good. And then, but the before would be try to, if I've got a few friends right now, unfortunately, have very sick parents. Like get some time with them to like do this.
Right.
You'll never lose it.
Yeah. And I also wanted to chime in when you're saying that like recordings are so important. And I mean, we're so lucky to have this technology where we get to have like these videos and like just doing like recordings like this of just regular conversations.
Right.
I always think about that because I've been meaning to have my dad on the podcast because he's really excited about that, like that idea. I know he'll be nervous, but
he'll be fine. Don't worry.
But it scares me. I'm 32 now, and my parents are getting older, and it just like I want to have some form of like recording of just a regular conversation, you know, of anybody. Like my dad is very important, but he's always sick too, and so like that always scares me. He has bad health problems, and so I do just want to like capture like a good day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Know? Oh yeah. No, I mean, I would ask him questions and put the phone on record in the hospital. Yeah. And I have several of them. I just need to get them. I need to find a good editor. You might be able to help me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But I would ask him questions, and it's kind of like this. Mm-hmm. Do like a little bit of my own like interview podcast, but in the hospital. Yeah. and he doesn't know that I took those either. Oh no, he doesn't know, and I have several of them.
That's really good because I feel like once you press record, sometimes people don't know how to act.
Yeah, no,
and so they get nervous.
He doesn't know. He told me some fantastic. No, they're kind of scary, but fantastic car stories. Okay. About him and my mom taking the car out and things that would happen back in the day. Mm-hmm. And it literally is my feet. Because I just put it on pause and I just let the phone sit there. Yeah.
That was smart of you.
Yeah, no, serious, yeah.
Well, what's like a cool story that you can remember about your dad?
They're silly. I mean, not silly because it could be scary, but like back in the day, there was so much turmoil and trauma as far as races are concerned. Mm-hmm. So people will laugh at me if they hear this, like especially people that know this. It's called like crowbarring, I guess. So the gangs and the blacks and the Mexicans would fight. Okay. Or steal each other's cars. Like it was not uncommon for people to do that. Mm-hmm. And in one case, he was out with my mom, and I don't know if he saw in the mirror. I have to listen to the story one more time, but long story short, he was about to they're in a crowbar's car. I think they like, I don't know, scratch it and they just like tell you to get out and, we'll shoot you or give us your car. Okay. But my dad happened to notice that there was a cop in the parking lot. Uh-huh. So as soon as he came up, I don't know if my dad did some sort of like, like Mayday-ish through a hall. I don't know. But luckily the cops rolled up and they walked away. Oh my God. But my dad had they had like kind of like squared them in. Uh-huh. So there were cars kind of all around. And if it wasn't for just kind of like luck. Uh-huh. I mean, I would hope that my mom and dad, I wouldn't be here today if anything happened. That was kind of like I'm like, oh damn,
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's just a crazy story.
Yeah. So this was before you were born.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Way before. So who knows? What if, oh my God, now that I say that, who knows if that cop wasn't there? Yeah. If something would happen and
that's true.
Maybe I wouldn't be me.
That's true. That's crazy. I do like to think that some things do happen for a reason. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But I've also tried to learn not to lean too heavily into that too. No. Because it's also a dangerous game.
Oh yeah. But the Chingona community, things happen for a reason. Like, for sure. Never know.
Yeah. So, I like that you've emphasized that you want to implement more mental health stuff for next year. Like that's one of the goals for the Chingona community.
Definitely. So within our pillars being business and connecting, community, of course, community forward for sure, but the wellness, I was trying to be, and not that yoga is just yoga, mm-hmm. but I'm like, how can it be more impactful? Mm-hmm. Now that we are on technically almost year 5, but formal.
Will next year be year 5?
Next year will be year 3 as a nonprofit. Okay. But inception to where we're at today. Yeah. Idea, name, all that good stuff from 2019. But especially dealing with grief. It's like we don't talk about it enough. We call it the Chingona taboos of mental health, because that's what funny. It is.
Yeah.
You know,
a lot of people don't like to talk about grief.
Nobody does. Nobody likes to talk about their stress. Nobody likes to talk about, you know, they had a panic attack. Nobody likes to talk about they're unhappy. They're having troubles in their marriage.
True.
They're suffering from postpartum.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to talk about anything. Everybody usually puts a mask on that we're okay.
Everything's fine.
Yeah. Especially women.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I agree. Women, we hold a lot in because we kind of just have to keep like moving forward. Yeah. And especially if you're a mother, I'm sure you have to just like be strong for everybody.
Yeah, and this week I was pretty broken. Meaning I had to apologize to my house, and, you know, I reminded, it's one of my daughters in particular. I reminded her via note. I write notes, send text messages. I'm infamous for making sure I admit my faults. But it was a pretty deep fault.
That's really good of you. Because I know a lot of parents, including my own sometimes, don't like to be accountable or acknowledge or say sorry. And I think that's really, I think that's really important for parents to do.
They have to. Yeah.
Because then, like, children hold on to it and then they remember it. I know some people that have told me, my mom, my dad has never said sorry to me in my life. Yeah. And like, how terrible is that?
Yeah.
No, you know,
I'm
they're not perfect.
Nope. I'm the first to admit my mistakes. I'm the first to know when I've done some damage. Always want to apologize when appropriate, but then also not explain for excuse, but explain for, can you give me some grace?
Yeah.
You know, because I'm like I said, I'm that tortilla. Like, I'm like so like everywhere. Like, you know, and then some people are like, oh my God, she's got so much energy. I'm like, no, I have passion.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's energy because I get tired.
Yeah.
You know, there's days that I wake up, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, you look so tired. Oh my gosh. But that's the thing. I think that asking for forgiveness and grace is important. Before we did my dad's services, I went to confession, and I haven't went for years. It was actually kind of scary. Because when the priest asked
me, sounds scary. First of all,
no, it was super scary, and it was funny because, you know, I tell my mom, and God love my mom. You know, call her Sister Mary Denise sometimes, but it's a good thing, like to help you keep faith, and at least whether that be prayer or just pray for us. Like, it's good,
right?
But when I told her that I wanted to go to confession before services, like, she was like all over it. So she met me there. And then I'm thinking, driving over, I'm like, you need to say, like, bless me, Father, for my sins. It's been this long. I'm like,
did you write down your confessions?
No, I didn't. And I knew what I wanted to confess.
Yeah.
But I forgot the act of contrition. I couldn't say the prayer. And then even when he asked me how long, I'm like, it's been like 4 years. And he's like, and he didn't say, like, why has it been 4 years? But in priest talk, he said, why has it been 4 years? And I'm like,
only 4 years?
Oh,
I'm like thinking, like, if I step into a Catholic church, like, I'm gonna, like, everything's gonna burn.
I promise it won't.
It's been so long. Yeah. I'm not Catholic anymore. I don't really assign myself to, like, a religion at this point in my life,
which is fine.
But I do believe in a God.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I do believe in, like, a higher being, and I do pray to somebody. And I pray for people too.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
That's important. I think prayer is, like, the most important of everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so continue telling me about your confession.
Oh my gosh. So when he had said, you know, why, but I'm, you know, in my head, I thought, to your point right now, this is why the church doesn't need to be so rigid.
Yeah.
The reason why I came was because my dad's about to be taken up, and I see importance in cleansing.
Right.
However that might be. That could be the gym or church, like whatever, you know, or vitamins. But I felt that was important, and whether or not he was going to, you know, through the thing, look at me different, I felt better, you know, to get that kind of out, felt good to cleanse my brain, release outside of a scream or a drink or food, right? It was, you know what I mean? It was a real quiet one-on-one, just like let it go. And I think that's so important because it goes back again to mental health. I did that for my mental health.
Right.
I did that to help me by my own choice feel a little bit cleansed.
Yeah.
And I did. I felt so much better when I left there. It was very odd.
Was your dad a religious person?
No. Oh my God. And that's what even my mom had said. I mean, he was. I don't want to, my mom will probably fall over when she hears this. He was, but he wasn't. Like, he was very much supportive of raising us Catholic. And my mom spearheaded that for sure, but my dad backed her up. Catholic school, going to church every Sunday. Mm-hmm. We would go out to eat after, from Coco's to Denny's we had a restaurant in the area called The Carriage. Mm-hmm. But that's a good thing. Yeah. Consistency with the family. Right. My mom and dad were present. Yeah. They took us all for, when I look at the financial struggle, right? It costs a lot to do that. Totally. And it's not about being rich but I mean, like, they saw the value. Yeah. And us spending that time together.
Quality time.
Away, So, although he wasn't religious, all of that went together with going to church.
Totally.
Right?
I totally see that. And I see, my boyfriend and I talk about this all the time. There's so many stories in the Bible that have such good messages to people, whether you're religious or not.
Right. Oh, yeah.
There's just so many messages that are telling you, be a good person. Yeah. Don't do this if you wouldn't do that, or, right. Things like that. Like, the moral of the story, doesn't matter who it was, right. Like Joseph or right. Jesus or whoever, just the moral of the story at the end of the day, it's like basic, like, do good.
Yeah.
Do good unto others,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, if you were to take out the church in your story, at the end of the day, you still had, like, that quality time with your parents, and that's what really mattered.
1,000%. I will never forget any of them, from him griping about his food being too cold. I mentioned that in his eulogy.
That's such a dad thing.
Oh my God, we would warn any waitress. I'm like, my dad would tell him, we would all kind of look at him or her like, yeah, heat that shit up, and they bring it, and then as soon as we'd see him, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like. And they're like, he likes it burning, like, to where it's like gonna burn, burn your mouth. Like, to us, we're like, spit it out. He would be like, perfect, a great quality time, great stories, great memories. Again, even like the restaurants, when I think about, I could see all 6 of us sitting there, and it's great.
It's good memories for sure. Yeah. I think my parents are like, they say they're Catholic, mm-hmm. but they don't go to church.
Well, my mom goes to church every Sunday.
Okay.
And my dad had so many masses offered up for him. And when she would text us, I tried my best to get when we could.
Yeah.
But not that it wasn't important, but it was one of those things like, I wasn't ready for that wave, But she goes every week.
Yeah, but then now that I think about it, now I'm like hearing myself say that. I guess you don't have to go to church and do the ritual every week to claim what you feel you are,
I don't think so. And again, everybody has such strong opinions, and I think for us,
especially on religion.
Oh, way on religion. And I think COVID, for us as a family, because we were always going, my husband was very much, he actually called me out early on in our relationship that if you claim to be this, then why don't you practice kind of prayer? He didn't necessarily say Catholicism, because mm-hmm. their family, although raised Catholic, still they have Jehovah's Witness. I mean, everyone has a little bit of different, Christian, right. whatever. But what nailed him in statement, like kind of calling me out, was again that time. Mm-hmm. We were there together. So I'm hoping to kind of migrate with that, but I will never force it on my kids.
Yeah.
I want my kids to be good human beings.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Treat people with respect.
And that, for me, I think a part of me had to like die in a way when I was younger to accept that maybe I don't fully align with like Catholicism. And so I had to like let go of that, and it was scary for me mm-hmm. because I did my first communion, I was baptized, I did my confirmation, like I was a full-blown Catholic. I went to Catholic school for 3 years. That's all I knew. That's what my parents told me I was. That's it. So when I like shifted away from that, I was a little scared, because I was like, my mom's not gonna like this, like,
oh yeah,
yeah. But I started to gain more confidence in like, well, I'm still a good person.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm still a good person, whether I'm Catholic or not.
Right.
So that's all I want to just like, I don't know. That's how I want to live my life. Just on this path of like trying to be a better person every year, or like, you know, as much as I can be, just to continue trying to be a better person.
Yeah. And I think
to myself and to other people.
And that's the most important thing of it. It's not just about, of course, going to church is a great ritual and something to do together.
Right.
But as long as the teachings are there, and even I told my husband, like, oh my God, like if I feel like everything's in turmoil, I'm like, we got to go back to church. I'm like, you know, but I mean, but that's a good thing though, because it's not that we won't go.
Right.
It's that I'm trying to make sure that we kind of prioritize it, but not prioritize it to where, unfortunately, sometimes I feel like when you're forced to do something, you're not getting anything out of it. True. Are you really listening to sermons? Are you taking?
I was falling asleep all the time.
Well, my dad would fall asleep too.
I'm like, this is boring.
My dad would sit there, and then I'm like, you know, and then not that I'd be like, oh my God, my dad. I'd just be like, oh, you know, we like hit him, or you know, or he'd be like the silly one, or like poke you or whatever. But as long as you're, like you said, doing well for yourself and being a good person to others, that's what we want to be. You know, anybody could be anything. But raised or, like you said, raised or not. Yeah. But I think it's how we give back, how we put that out in the world, kind of to help others be better. Right. You know.
And I think religion is important. I don't think it should bleed into all of our politics and stuff like that.
Either. I don't.
And how you treat people, but I do see like the benefit of it when I see people that have been struggling with maybe like addiction or other traumas in their life, and they turn to God or some sort of religion.
I love it. Yeah. Oh my God, I've had so many prayerful people after my dad passed. Aww. Like almost to like extreme, a little bit scary. Yeah. But not scary, like, oh my God, this is like, whatever, you know, somebody that's too into Jesus. But I mean, to where the days though that this has happened, random, like a client shut the door. She's like, they don't like when I do this. I'm thinking, what are you going to do? But she prayed over me. Aww. And I was like, and even the words she said, it wasn't like that she was making me believe what she wanted. It was that she genuinely wanted to make sure I had a little bit of strength. It was very odd. I've had several experiences like that. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's about like giving people energy, some of their energy, you know, and just like intention. I had a cousin who was struggling with just a lot of issues with like her failed marriage. She had a drinking problem, and she eventually just like turned completely into Christian, and like, you know, that helped her get into a better path, I'm sure. Yeah. You know, because who knows like where she would have been if she would have stayed in that path that she was on. Right. Just kind of like spiraling and not doing good for herself. And so she went to Christianity, and, you know, she's in a better place, like where she has like a family and a husband and a house now, and like a little more stable. Yeah. And I might not agree with all of the beliefs and stuff, but I'm just happy for my cousin.
The win for her. Like,
because it's a win.
Yeah, no, 1,000%.
And I think like it's important to continue to like love yourself, you know, and just like try to be a better person. Yeah. I'm just I'm just against people trying to like push their beliefs onto others.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I learned that a very unique way, but I do teach that to my kids. Yeah. I want them to have faith in something, but I'm also not going to force them because they won't do it. Like no person really will. If somebody's like making you do something, for sure, you're not going to do it. But if you you share the benefits. Yeah. And what it can do for your wellness and what it can do for some peace. Then,
yeah, I agree. So do you have any like good insight on just this whole experience of this year? Has it been a long year for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Me too.
It's like
I feel like we did our episode like a year ago.
I know.
That's how long.
And then there's like so many things that shoot.
There's so much in between. Yeah, for sure. I've done a lot of growing, and I'm sure you have too. I didn't mention to you about my presentation for. Yeah. So it went really well. I was really nervous, even though it was through Zoom. It's my first class though, like being back in college after like 8 years, I think. And it went really well. I had a lot of classmates like message me on the side and just be like, "Oh, can you?" I posted your handle on Instagram,
Nice.
But like I had people directly like message me and like, I really like this organization.
Yeah.
Can you send me their Instagram or their website?
Yeah.
And yeah, I was really happy because I got through to some people that just like felt the way I feel about your organization. You know?
I love that.
Yeah.
Yay, that's a win.
It was a win.
Go
for
Beach.
Sure. Yeah. I was really happy with that. Like I told you, I have a lot of women in my program.
Yeah.
It's like policy and administration.
Okay.
So there's a lot of women that are trying to change the world.
Yeah.
You know?
We should.
Yeah.
We are one by one, together united.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to be taking more classes this year, well, December and then next year. And if anything comes up, like I still want to like pitch your organization to other people too.
I would love that. That's how we grow.
Yeah.
Even the invites that we've had for some recent community events have been great because our exposure and our reach is getting out there. And it's not for, I think sometimes again, the some folks on the outside might think, oh, you know, they want more. No, the more exposure we get and the more reach, the more resources for everybody. Like, you know, this is not about just followers. This is about who can help.
Yeah. And like the organic reach too, not just like
grassroots.
Yeah. Like word of mouth.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the most important outreach you can get. And then people that are like interactive with your organization.
Yep. And want to be. And we've had some amazing volunteers that have come through, again, organically. When you meet them, they're just such great souls and great like beings and great like to be around and really like wanting, like rolling up their sleeves and what can I do? I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy, but this is amazing. Let's do this. You know?
Okay. So let's go into a little more of like that because I've been curious on how to volunteer and I know you said to just message you or to just reach out, but if someone who doesn't directly know you, how do they reach out to volunteer?
So this year for 2025, what we're doing a little bit different is we're going to have an ambassador group. Okay. So we're just starting that process right now. We're almost finished with at least the core that we've had for the past few years. They were called the Corps. We had some interns, general volunteers, some member sponsors. But what we saw as a board is that there's so many groups. I don't have like anybody to manage that.
Okay.
And if we do, there's several, like, you know, it's like telephone, like it goes down and either the message gets convoluted or there's too many phone calls to make. It's just messy.
Right.
So for 2025, we're doing ambassadors, which quite frankly, it's going to be a general statement. For the most part, anyone could be a part of it, but there are, you know, you have to do a sign off, you know, make sure that legally and responsibility and just, you know, a few things need to get covered that folks need to be aware of, you know, to make sure that we're protecting our image and our organization. But outside of being an ambassador, you truly can. We solicit volunteers all the time.
Okay.
I'm hoping that through this ambassador program, we'll do something more like electronic, where if somebody wants to volunteer, when these events come up, we will say volunteers needed, and it's more like a form or, you know, Google form or Google Doc. So I'm going to say it's going to be a mix of both. Okay. You know, with the ambassadors and our calendar getting published soon, after my board retreat in the next 2 weeks, we'll probably get a streamlined idea as to if there's going to be just a set form that someone can access through Instagram, through a link, and or through the website. That way it's like a running pool. It's like Temps. Okay. You know, like a running pool.
So, for like just some maybe ideas that maybe you've already come across or like, but just some helpful ideas that really organized when I was a part of a nonprofit was they would do an email blast and it would be to all of the past volunteers.
Nice.
And it would give you like a calendar and tell you, so for December 16th, there's going to be this event. For, you know, every other day, there's, for the rest of the month, it'll tell you like
where you could go if you wanted to. Yeah.
And then it's, they would do like a Excel sheet and then you would just like put in your name there
and info. Yeah.
And then you just sign up for it and then it would close up. And then if you wanted to do a different one, you would put your name there too. And I thought that was really, it was just such an organized way. And the volunteer manager would just like distribute that to everybody. And then kind of like if she had any questions or if she needed to alter things, she would just reach out directly.
Yep.
And then that was kind of like it for the month. And then the following month, it was like the same
every single
thing.
different month. Yeah. Like, actually, it's like a newsletter, but a volunteer newsletter.
Yeah, exactly. No, and then it would kind of give you a small description of just the event itself and like what you would be doing.
Yeah.
And like your job and your duties. And so I thought that was really cool. And it made things really easy and transparent. And like, you know, it didn't complicate anything.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's why we tried to merge the group. But I'm glad you shared that, because for the board retreat, that's my whole thing. I'm like, how do we get forms? How do we get a little scan QR code? Everyone just put their info in. We'll send them a mass note. Yeah. Show up. And if they missed, we just know that they missed. But if not, they're there. Yeah. You know? So yeah, no, I love that.
Or like you could even have like a volunteer page on your website. And then it'll just be like, you're interested in volunteering.
Be a part of this.
Put your email here.
Yeah.
And your name, your contact number.
Yeah.
And then people who are interested in that, you know, they'll be a part of that email blast that you eventually
and then
send.
Get them. Yeah. No, I love that. Well, that's the thing right now, in the middle of like kind of technology, not glitches, but that would be one thing that I just want streamlined, because a lot of times it falls on me.
Hell yeah. I could see that happening to you, where you're just like you have like all these other things to do and people are texting you like, what time am I supposed to show up?
Yeah. Well, luckily this year, at the end of the year, I feel like, I always love to delegate, but sometimes you don't know if you can trust and or if people are going to really take care of it. Not the way you do. I don't like to use that one, but that they're really going to be there.
Right.
Like reliable. That's the word. So trust and reliable. So the end of the year, we've done a lot more of that, which has been great, because now I really have like a little pool of leaders and then helping build those volunteer pools. But to your point, my goal for this year is that online the calendar will be up, and I'm gonna suggest to the board, now that you've shared that, that every month we'll do it, like just one link for every month. Here's everything, just check what you want, like the little polls or whatever the heck you call it. Yeah, it's like the forms, right? Yeah.
And then you just do that email blast if you want to do that too. But yeah, I'd love to like kind of share things with you on my experience of just like volunteering myself, and like just like on my end of just like creatively how, or I guess like the user friendly things how I could
make
see
it easier.
Yeah, because I could see how like volunteers can get really complicated.
Yeah, well, because then it's just all over.
Yeah, you know? Especially when your organization is growing. Yeah, you kind of have those growing pains too.
Oh, they're painful.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Because like I was mentioning, and I also went on your website too, and I was like, you know, it'd be really cool if there was like a calendar of like events and stuff.
Yep. Yeah.
So that way I could like, I'm like crazy busy all the time too. So like, I always want to show up to your stuff, and then like, I just like never, I don't know. I'm bad with time
next year, first of all. quarter by quarter will be up. So my goal after the board retreat would be for January, February, and March. Dates are already set. There's a few little holes with TBDs as location, but the dates are set. So next year will be different in the sense that those will be up by quarter with a little asterisk that could change, but at least to your point, which is a great point, when people ask, they'll be able to see them in snapshots. Right. I have the whole year, but I ain't releasing the whole year. That could be detrimental, because there could be so many things that could fall off between now and June.
And I'm sure you also have like returning volunteers, right?
Oh yeah, we do. Yeah.
So eventually, like the more they volunteer, like maybe you can make those volunteers like volunteer leaders, and like you know, have them show up to the events
as leads. Yeah. Well, the ambassadors is going to be that. And then out of that ambassador group, we've already solicited to see who would take on as a lead, because they've been coming back so much. And then any of the excess volunteers, like you're mentioning, to bring extra support and or awareness, we're going to have to figure out a way to, like you said, have something sitting online to where that database just gets built, and or that sheet gets made, so that way when things come up, a mass text, a mass email, if you're able to make it, you know, for sure sign up, you know, but again, the building of that. So we're there. I think I merged 5 groups into one. And then this group, once that core group's made, I've asked who wants to be leads. We'll kind of like highlight them, and then each event will have opportunities. And I always give service hours.
Yeah, for sure.
And I always let the girls know if they're at an event, they're volunteering. They're showing up and representing us and talking to somebody else about us. That's volunteering. Yeah. You're still community serving and networking. And that's what students need to know.
Yeah.
Women need to learn how to do.
Or you could even, I'm just like thinking about all these ideas.
Yes.
I'm like, you could even do like summer internships. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
And those interns will have like a little more responsibility.
Yeah.
And then you just like give them their hours at the end of the summer or something.
Yep.
You know,
letters of recommendation we've added.
Yeah, that
so,
too.
You know, you can get a letter and or this. Yeah, the internships we tried this year, it did fine. But again, we had so many groups.
Okay.
It was so hard because everybody would call them. And then I'm like, did so-and-so call them? Like, no. I'm like, just put it on one group.
Okay.
So this year we're calling it ambassadors, but we do have an accounting intern that I'm so fortunate enough that came through us doing the interns.
Okay.
And then I've tried a couple of times at Loyola. And I need to start to look at other universities where there's funds that we would apply for. And the cool thing is that not only will we give hours and a letter, but we can, through the university, pay them.
Yeah. That would be really good.
Yeah.
That'd be so good. And I mean, Cal State Long Beach, you could do that easily.
I'm going to have to figure out. And again, it's timing.
Yeah.
There's different times of the year when you have to hurry up and go apply. Because if you don't apply, your organization won't get the funds. You got to wait, you know, so I know the drill, but it's again, just getting to the time to do it.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I know.
But it's exciting to me.
Yeah.
Because as a single mom, when I was in college, I needed paid. Yeah. I couldn't do a free.
Me too. Me too. I mean, when I did my undergrad, I graduated 2016, I told you. I wasn't fortunate enough to just like graduate and then like have a job lined up because I didn't do any internships. Yeah. And I couldn't do any internships because I needed to work. Yeah. And then so I ended up being one of those people that graduated and was like, cool, I'm not using my degree for anything because I didn't get a chance to do an internship. Yeah. And at this point I'm graduated, I'm old, and now people don't want me to be an intern. So like it was just like really hard for me. And that's why like being back in school, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna eventually have to be an intern again. Yeah.
Which is great though, because it still is work experience if you think about it. You know, it still is. You will still get something out of it.
Yeah, but like now I'm in a good place where like my boyfriend and I live together and he has a really good job. So like I'm not scared to, you know, not have the funds for it.
Right. Yeah.
So I just feel like a little more confident and like a little more relaxed in like knowing that like he has me or he's going to support me if he needs to.
Yeah. You can get through that process.
Yeah.
In the way that it should, right? A learning versus being stressed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because a lot of my undergrad years were just like me being stressed out. Yeah. Just always stressed out. I wasn't really focused in school. I was always like getting by with B's and C's and like some A's, but it was just very average, and it's because I had to balance like work full time and then like going to school. Yeah. So that was really hard for me. But going back, because we'll start closing up now. It's already the end of the year. Do you have any like, I don't want to say resolutions, but like goals for yourself on how to be kinder to yourself next year? Like for me, I'm very self-critical of myself. Yeah. So one of my goals is next year, I'm going to talk to myself better, be a little more compassionate. Right. Stop being so hard on myself when something's not perfect. When something's not like the best it could be. Yeah. I'm like that person that's like my own worst enemy. Yeah. Like nobody needs to be mean to me because I'm already mean to myself.
Well, I mean, I personally think mine are to really make sure that I am practicing gratitude. And it's not that I don't thank people. I'm not thankful for what I have. And I relate to so much more than what the average person has, and it's not financially, that I need to step back when I like really feel myself like hit the ceiling, to stop back and, you know, step back and say, okay, you've got 4 beautiful kids. You have a home. You've got food. You get to go to work. Mm-hmm. You are functioning and moving and have health benefits. So many times I don't do that, and I just see oh my God, it was so stressful today because of this. Oh my God, it was so stressful. Well, guess what? Like you said, being about your own worst enemy, that does tear you down. That makes you tired. You know, that will lead to me be like, oh, instead of having a glass of wine, I have a bottle of wine because I'm so stressed out and I'm so pissed off. And then what? You know, what are you worth after that, you know?
Totally.
So I think for me, it's going to be to practice being thankful for the blessings in my life already and not using them more, because that's the wrong word, but utilizing that energy from those blessings to exude more power out, you know? Like the power out that I'm giving right now is because I really do drive on true passion. But when I go home, I might not be that passionate at home because I'm pissed off, stressed. I'm tired from driving, tired from working 3 jobs. And then who gets the wrath of that but my family?
Right.
And that's not fair to my kids, my husband. You know, now some days it's their fault. Some days it's way their fault. And some days it's, you know, I am thankful and I'm overly thankful and you know, but
I relate to that so much.
Yeah, but you know, you hear what I'm saying, and I think that with my dad's passing, be thankful for the time that you have with people here right now.
True.
You know,
I agree. I'm really glad that you shared that, because that's also something that I want to work on too. I think a lot of the times I don't feel grateful.
Yeah.
Even though maybe I say it in the moment, because like I am grateful for a lot of things.
Yeah.
But sometimes I need to step back and remind myself
and look at it
to be grateful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because overall, yes, I'm grateful. But when I'm in my present mode and I'm stressed out or like I'm sad or mad, I forget to be grateful. And I need to remind myself to do that too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us are just blessed, you know?
Oh yeah.
And we have like our health, or we have like our family still, and we have people that love us. We have a lot of things going for us, and sometimes we need to take just a breather to realize and recognize what you have.
Calmness, quiet. I've been sitting alone a lot, in the car, in the drive. Like, there's been so many drives now. More often than not, I'm in silence.
Yeah.
You know, I put the phones down. You know, you're not supposed to be on the phones anyways, but I mean, like, usually in between meetings, or, you know, if I'm going from work to something for the Chingonas, I'm on the call. So I'm like, oh my God, maximize my time. You know, I'm like, hey, can you talk about this right now? I'm like, this is the only time, you know, but I'll catch myself, no phone, no sound. And I've done it a couple of times, like days in a row. And I'll even like, oh my God, I'm like, the radio's not on, but you know, so just things like that, calmness. I have started practicing more of, like more mind, body, soul. So, we did some yoga, but we learned, oh my gosh, what is it called? FML. Oh God, I'm going to call it the wrong thing. I'm trying to think of FMLA. It's not FMLA. But more of like body, movements to get the energy back in.
Okay.
I've been doing that a lot more.
Is it like some sort of somatic thing?
Yeah, but it's called something.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
It's okay.
The term will come. I have it written down.
It'll come later on.
It'll come later on. But basically it is, different, like almost borderline acupuncture points and points within our body that we can stimulate on our own. And that could be sounds. That could be body movements. Mine more body movements. The couple that I really grasped on have to do with like kind of getting out indirect toxins and putting in. So I want to get in tune with that a little bit more.
Okay, that's
because
good.
I think that will definitely not only be good for me, but if the Chingonas has got a lot for me, boy, will they get more.
Yeah. Hell yeah. You gotta take care of you first.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here,
Yes,
Roz.
yes.
This was really fun.
Yeah.
I'm glad we are closing out the year together with this episode and in the show. But yeah, thank you again.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. I feel so blessed. Thank you.
Me too.